Sometimes you got to wonder. Sometimes you got to question things. My truck here, 86 Chevrolet C10 350 with a $700 Ford turbo transmission. Ever since I bought the truck, the transmission was acting weird. Where I thought it was late shifting between first and second, turned out to be, well, let me tell you the story. It was shifting, it was revving real high in first gear before it was going into what I thought was second gear, and it would go straight into third, and then I could never really tell if it was going in overdrive or not. So I set up an appointment with a place down the road, and at the same time, since I was off today, I said, hey, let's go take it to AAMCOTransmissions down in Winchester. So I did. I called them up, and they're like, yeah, we have time today, bring it down for a diagnostic. So when I get there, I asked the lady, I said, before he takes off on the test drive, I said, can I talk to the guy and tell him what it's doing? And she's like, oh, sure you can. So when the guy came and got the keys, I thought they said they were going to run some kind of diagnostic test, that they were going to pull it into the shop and do something first and then take it for test drive, and I'd be able to talk to him. Well, a couple minutes of him walking outside to get the truck, I hear him take off down the road in the truck. So when he comes back, first thing he does is says, buddy, you need another transmission. I'm like, really? I thought it might have been a shift kit, might have been a module, might have been something, because it did shift as far as I knew. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, you have no second gear. And I'm like, well, I always thought second gear worked just fine. It was just late shifting to get it there. He says, no. He said, I dropped it in low. He said, I went from first. When I went in the second, he said, nothing happened. When I threw it in drive, he said, it shifted in drive, and then it went into overdrive after I put it in overdrive. So I kind of doubted that a little bit, because I really thought it always went in the second. So bringing it home, it was driving like it had. I've been all over in this truck with no second gear and didn't even know it. But I've driven all the way to Frederick. I've driven to Maryland. I've driven it for hours at a time, 2-3 hours at a time, not knowing that I didn't have no second gear. But it would shift in the gears and it would drive. Drove nice. So I take it out there, and they're like, he needs a new transmission. We don't build transmissions, and they have a Jasper sign on the wall. And I'm like, okay, so y'all do Jasper transmissions? He said, no. We're affiliated in some way. He said, but we don't do Jasper transmissions. He said, Jasper transmissions are about $2,000 higher than the transmissions that we sell. So you're going to pay about $2,000 more if you wanted a Jasper. Well, I'm like looking around. I said, well, I thought Jaspers ran around $2,000. So $2,000 more from what? $0 to $2,000, or from what your price is going to be plus $2,000? Well, I found out. In order to replace my $700 Ford transmission, they wanted $6,300. And I was like, that's more than I even paid for the truck. He's like, she says, I get that. So I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. Okay? So like I said, I'm driving it home. Shifting like it has since I've had it. Since I bought it from day one, and it shifted, it rode fine. Once it got past second gear, everything was great. So I come and meet the wife up the road, about 3 or 4 miles up the road, to get something to eat. And when we leave out of there, she takes off, and I take off in the truck. And lo and behold, the only gear I have is first gear. Like I just talked to my cousin, I told him, I said, luckily it's hills around here, so I could coast down one hill, and I could use first gear at low RPMs to get back up the hill and coast down the next hill, and not being so far away, I was able to get it home. But it's just really funny to me how also, now I understand I need a new transmission, but to go from driving fine all this time to the one time I let him drive it, to all I have is one gear now. I mean, it drove home almost all the way from there until I shut it off, went inside, had dinner, came back out, and all I had was first gear. So I just, makes you wonder, man. It really bugs me. But the main thing was, I knew I needed a transmission, so I'm going to Jegs. I'm going to have them build me a nice 700R4 performance transmission with a stall converter, and I'm going to throw it up in here myself. I mean, the whole transmission with the stall converter is probably like $2,200. The transmission is only $1,800. A Jegs built transmission handled at least 500 horsepower. And this truck does not put out that much. I just thought I'd say it. I don't know if they did anything. I'm not accusing nobody. It's just really funny how you come back. I understand you told me I need a new transmission. I'm lucky I got home. I'm really lucky I got home. If I would have drove straight home, I would have had no doubts that this transmission was decent, except for didn't have second gear. But as soon as I parked it one time and got back in it to come home, I only had first gear. As long as I've had this truck and everywhere I've taken it, the moment a transmission specialist drove my truck, it went to crap. So their transmission that they wanted to sell me was over $5,000, and then the rest of it was labor and materials. For an off-brand transmission, they don't even sell Jaspers, and AAMCO doesn't even build transmissions. They don't even rebuild transmissions. I always thought that was their trademark. Anyway, I just had to say it. I'm not accusing nobody of nothing. I just find it kind of fishy. And if you like the video, thumbs up, share it. I don't know how you really share videos, but whatever. Subscribe, and don't unsubscribe. We're going to keep things going here. I just thought I'd share that with you. Before you decide to take your vehicle to AAMCO, you might want to look around. Y'all have a great day. I'll talk to you later.